Welcome to this week's Crossroads Politics here on WTHR+. I'm Emily Longnecker. Dustin Grove is off this week. It has been a busy week in Washington with a new travel ban announced by President Trump. On it, 12 countries whose citizens are banned from visiting the U.S. In a video released by the president, he tied the ban to last week's terror attack in Boulder, Colorado, saying it underscored the danger of visitors to the United States overstaying their visas. The suspect in the Colorado attack is from Egypt, a country that's not on the current travel ban list. I spoke with Indiana Congressman Andre Carson Friday about the travel ban.
You agree with any of the countries on the list? Because I know Iran is designated by the State Department as being a state sponsor of terror. So do any of these countries that are on this list perhaps deserve a designation on it?
Well, I think to indict an entire country based on its leadership, I think it has us overlook the kinds of nuance that this administration often misses. To indict an entire nation based on the acts of its leadership, which in many cases engage in normalized corruption, would be a severe oversight. That is not to say that in the past we've not had these kinds of bans to impose restrictions on countries who have very serious and grave human rights abuses, very serious and grave abuses as it relates to terrorism, and working in concert with some of our worst and fiercest adversaries. But I think, as I said before, it unfairly targets Black and brown communities. It targets very clearly many Muslim nations. And I think for me, travel bans really hurt individuals and families. I think it's so heartbreaking that people will be prevented from seeing their loved ones.
Carson also talked about the letter he sent this week to Department of Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem. Carson asked Noem to confirm reports that the federal government is considering using Camp Atterbury as a place to house ICE detainees. Carson's letter raises what he said are ethical, legal, and national security concerns. In 2021, Camp Atterbury was used as temporary housing for thousands of Afghan refugees who were evacuated when the U.S. military withdrew from Afghanistan.
What's different about this?
Well, I think what's different is in 2021, we had folks coming from war-torn areas under the dreadful rule of the Taliban, under so-called religious rule, where women and children were abused, mistreated, sex trafficked in the midst of a heavy drug operation. And so people were fleeing a disastrous area, a war-torn area, coming to the States, coming to the great Hoosier state for refuge, in conjunction with many of our NGOs and nonprofits who did a phenomenal job of helping these refugees transition into American society and to Hoosier society. But now we have people who are contributors to our society, who are making our society better in many ways, reflecting all that is great about America, being snatched from their homes, placed in a detention facility without due process. That's the difference.
Our news gathering partners at the Indiana Capitol Chronicle report that DHS confirmed to them that the agency is exploring, quote, all options to meet current and future detention needs. This week was also a busy one here in Indiana. Governor Braun replaced 3 members of IU's Board of Trustees. The move drew quick criticism. The governor spoke about the decision earlier this week. This move by the governor comes after this past legislative session when lawmakers changed how IU's Board of Trustees is chosen. Before the change, alumni from IU would vote and elect 3 board members. After the change, lawmakers gave Governor Braun total control of all 9 appointees. Now former IU Board of Trustees member Vivian Winston provided a copy of the letter she received from the governor Monday. It's dated May 31st and contains one sentence citing Indiana code. This is the official notice of your removal from the Board of Trustees of Indiana University, effective immediately. Winston's term on the board was set to expire in a matter of weeks. She's one of 3 people now listed as former board members on IU's website. Winston told 13 News over the phone she knew her removal could be a possibility following the change by lawmakers, but was still surprised at the abrupt nature of the notice. In the days following session, Governor Braun told reporters he'd heard from many people interested in being on the board, but hadn't thought about making any changes, saying then that some members' terms were close to expiring. Tuesday, he talked about his decision to reverse course and make the new appointments.
So close to that being the case anyway, and you can't believe the number of individuals that came forward wanting to be considered in those slots. So with that kind of enthusiasm and the fact that it really didn't make a lot of difference one way or the other, did make the decision to go ahead and do it so that we don't even delay the few weeks it would be involved.
Well, that does it for this week's episode of Crossroads Politics here on WTHR Plus. For all of us at 13 News, I'm Emily Longnecker. Thanks for watching. We hope to see you next time.